I cannot repeat this enough. This cannot be said enough. The Democrat Party is the largest domestic terror group in the United States of America. They're attacking Republican facilities. They're attacking ICE facilities. They're attacking Trump supporters. They're calling for war. They're calling for violence. They're cheating. They're rigging elections. They're using big tech. The Democrats are the biggest domestic terror group in America today. All right, it's the last Friday of the month.
Welcome to the Douglas Ducote Show.
And you know what that means. It's the Veterans Call-In Special. So we're going to open up the phone lines for veterans right now. Veterans, go ahead, call in, weigh in on anything you'd like to today. I'd like to hear the veterans' take on the Bob Mueller testimony. They make this guy out to be a hero. He was in the Vietnam War. But some say he's a disgrace to the uniform now. We'll get the take from the veterans. 888-201-2244. We ask that if you're a veteran, you call in. Let us know what branch of the military you're a veteran of, and we will get you on the line and ready to go. As usual, though, we have our veteran guests as well. My two guests today are Douglas Ducote, who, let me just go down this impressive resume. Medically retired United States Army soldier and law enforcement veteran with over 18 years of professional experience and over 14 million views on his YouTube channel when he was in the active duty. Mr. Ducote held two different MOS positions, including 67U, Chinook flight engineer, and 67N, a Huey crew chief in the Army Guard. He picked up another MOS 95B military police officer and also served 3 years as an HH-60G helicopter crew chief in the California Air Guard. The list goes on and on of all the tours that he saw and everywhere he was. A long, long resume there. And then also American Joe, who is beginning his own endeavors in media. American Joe is a U.S. Army veteran that served from 1989 to 1995, was deployed during Operation Desert Shield/Desert Storm with the 1st Cavalry Division. Joe's unit was the first combat to test the Avenger air defense system, and he has launched American Freedom Supply as well, and I believe he's launching his own media operation now too. So Douglas and Joe join me here on the Veterans Call-In Special. So glad you guys are with us today. I want to get both of your guys' takes on the big national story that has pretty much occupied this week's news coverage, and that is the Bob Mueller testimony. Let's start with Douglas. What is your take now that it's concluded on the Bob Mueller testimony from this week?
Hi, Owen. First, thanks for having us on. And hey, I'm digging the beard there, brother.
Yeah, we got some beard power on today's show.
Yes, we did. My take was that it was the best part was the briefing today that Nadler held with his buffoons, talking about how the testimony went yesterday, which was a complete and utter failure for the Democrats. It was very funny because for the first time ever, CNN actually agreed with Fox News that this was actually just a waste of time and money. And then members of the Hollywood elite came out and basically said the same thing. The late night talk show hosts were making fun of it. And Nadler comes out talking about how, you know, it's rambling and babbling back and forth that it was a great thing and they're moving forward and they're going to get all the stuff they need and they're going to keep looking at impeachment. And, you know, it was what it is. It's a continuous push into 2020 to keep the word impeachment and crimes on the table in hopes to peel enough voters away and or towards the Democrats. That's my take on the whole damn thing.
Well, and I think that just by looking at it on its face, you can see that. And it's really sad that they would go to such lengths and politicize such a fraudulent narrative here just for their own political agenda. I mean, that's about stooping as low as you can go. And it just shows you how they have no class. American Joe, let's get your take. What do you think about that testimony and the coverage since?
Well, thanks for having me on, Owen, first of all. And Douglas pretty much nailed it right there. The only thing I would add is the Democrats know they have absolutely no shot at beating Donald Trump in a fair election. When you look at any crowd size at a Trump rally and compare it to the high school auditorium a Democrat is lucky to fill, it's very obvious that America stands behind Donald Trump. There's us, the very boisterous and loud supporters of Donald Trump, and then there's everybody else who's afraid to talk about it because you get labeled a racist and a homophobe and an Islamophobe if you support Donald Trump. So they know they don't have a shot at beating him in a heads-up election. That's why they're going to continue to push this ridiculous narrative, and it's just never going to stop. Just like Doug said, it's going to go on and on and on, and that's why it's so important that all of us patriots across all media platforms come together with a unified voice to support Donald Trump, because the left controls the mainstream media. As you said earlier, Owen, the left controls Google and information that's not only searched and found, but information that's discovered when you're online and information that gets out to the public. So when you control information, you control public opinion. It's no different than North Korea and a state-run media. That's what Google is in our country. So we have to band together, Owen, and thank you for having me on the show.
Well, and if you just kind of look at everything you just said and boil it down, here's the significance. They intimidate people out of their free speech so that they can run with a false narrative that Trump isn't that popular, because the average Trump supporter is, like you said, afraid of being labeled a racist or this or that, so they don't wear their Trump hat, they don't wear their Trump shirt, they don't stand up for Trump during just general political commentary, and so that voice is never heard. Then they can run the false narrative. Trump is unpopular. He's getting beat by Biden in the polls. And act like they have a chance to beat him, even though, like you said, if you just look at rally turnout numbers, you see the whole thing's a sham. I mean, Beto O'Rourke was going to be the savior of the Democrat Party. He flew on an airplane just the other day. Nobody even knew who he was. The only people that knew who he was were Trump supporters that took a photo with him to troll him. So it really just shows you how they're using the power of the media to intimidate people, using the power of control of information to keep the truth silent, so that they can run with this false narrative like, oh yeah, Trump's not popular, he's going to lose, the Democrats going to beat him. None of it's true. And I mean, I know that you two are obviously going out there doing your thing. You started AmericanJoeShow.com, DouglasDucote.com. Douglas, I mean, what is your measurement right now? I mean, obviously Trump has the most, ardent support showing up, but are you afraid that the media and that Google and the control of information with big tech, is that enough to defeat Trump in 2020?
I don't think it's enough to defeat him in 2020. I think after today, and this whole Mueller thing, I believe we got 2020 in the bag. Okay, but social media, yes, is doing everything in their power, whether it's Twitter or Facebook or even YouTube, doing everything they can to shut down the conservative voice. Now, look, all that being said, keep something in mind. Another reason why they're pushing this so much is to take our eye off the ball of what's happening with members of Congress that are, in my personal opinion, secretly infiltrating and about to do severe damage to everything that we stand for. All right. Here, the military, the government sent me, an American Joe, overseas to Muslim countries to fight terrorists. They, taught us that.
Well, let's hold that thought right there, because the Democrats are now openly engaging in domestic terrorism by my measurement. We'll get your take on that. Welcome back to the InfoWars.com War Room, brought to you by InfoWarsStore.com. It's the Veterans Call-In Special. I'm here with Douglas Ducote and American Joe. We're talking about the Mueller testimony. We're talking about the Democrat domestic terrorism. We're going to get right back to them in a second. I've got the call-in lines lit up. Looking forward to hearing to all of you on the line. I promise we'll get to you as well. Before we do all of that, I want to do this before I forget, because we got all kinds of great specials at InfoWarsStore.com. I can tell you about the 50% off DNA Force Plus, 50% off Super Male Vitality, the 50% off all the storable foods, the 40% off the InfoWars Life protein bars, the War Room coupon code special at checkout for 15% off any Pro Pure shower filter. But I've had this story on my desk for a couple days, and I want to do this before I forget. So, study, one apple carries roughly 1 million bacteria, which is a good thing. And so if you dig deeper into the basis of this story, it's all about how, fruits and organic foods that come from the ground and trees and what have you have all of this good bacteria that is good for your gut health. And when we have a diet of processed foods, we're not getting that good gut bacteria. And so much like other issues that we see in modern day society, at InfoWars, we try to look for solutions. So we saw the studies that the modern day diet wasn't delivering the good gut bacteria. And what we did is we found products in supplement form that can help get that bacteria back into your gut, back into your diet. Things like Living Defense, things like Carnivore, things like Floralife. These are all supplements we sell at InfoWarsStore.com. So, when you see the stories about thyroid issues and people being low on iodine, what do? We give you nascent iodine. When we see the stories about the average diet lacking the good bacteria, what do? We get supplements that has the good bacteria in it. Again, Living Defense, Floralife, Carnivore. These are just a few examples. They're at InfoWarsStore.com. So I'm a big fan of the Floralife. I do like the Carnivore. If you're going to have a big meal of red meat, the Carnivore is always good for breaking that down. But just the good gut bacteria that you're not getting in your diet with the supplements like Floralife and Carnivore and Living Defense, you can try to maintain healthy gut bacteria levels even if you're not having the best diet to maintain those levels. So InfoWarsStore.com has all of that, and it's InfoWarsStore.com where you can find it. Okay, we got people lined up, but I wanted to finish Douglas's take on where he was at and then get American Joe's take on it and then go out to the phone line. So, based on what you're seeing, Douglas, with the rhetoric stepping up, but really beyond the rhetoric, I mean, they're calling for violence now, and the violence has hit the streets, at ICE facilities, at Republican headquarters, to the average Trump supporter in the street. I mean, people say this is aggressive. Maybe it's extreme. I'm just responding and calling it as it is. I say that the Democrat Party is the largest domestic terror group in America. What about you, Douglas?
Well, I agree with you. I say they are too. The point I was making a few minutes ago was that, they send us off to fight in these Muslim countries and tell us that they are the bad guys. And then we come back and then they tell us to flip a switch and don't think that way anymore. And they put them in Congress, and not just put Muslims in Congress, but some that hate us and everything we stand for. We're talking about Tlaib and Omar. So for a veteran, that really, really blows to hear this coming from somebody that's a sitting member of Congress that hates us, hates law enforcement, hates America, hates everything we stand for. It's very, very disheartening. And as a combat veteran that fought in the Middle East, it really pisses me off.
American Joe, AmericanJoeShow.com. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, when I posted a video today, I just saw a video that didn't make its rounds. At least I never saw it, from 2018. In this video, Ilhan Omar's on Al Jazeera, and the interviewer asked her a good question. Why shouldn't Americans be worried about Islam, about terrorists, about all these things that Americans are worried about? And she says that Americans should be worried about the white man, because the white man's killing everybody. And this is disgusting on every level. And we have to sit here as veterans or just as an ordinary American, and we got to listen to this, I would say, an illegal immigrant, because it's obvious now with all the evidence that's come forward that she never even came to this country legally. And now she's not only illegal, she's infiltrated Congress. We have to do something about this. You have Rashida Tlaib in Congress, who wraps herself in a Palestinian flag when she gets elected. That is not allegiance to this country. And so what do? Well, we have to start fighting back. And we cannot have any red hat, which is anybody in this country, who has a brain in their head sitting home on election day like they did in 2018 when we lost the House of Representatives. We can never let Democrats hold power again. We have to crush them at the ballot box. We have to make them believe they're never going to hold power ever again. We have to drown them in their sorrows, in their tears, by my estimation.
And I don't know what the answer is because, you know, the American voter now, unfortunately, is either so brainwashed, some of them are so ignorant that they do elect people like AOC to Congress. I mean, you can't even imagine the racism of a Tlaib, of a Cortez, of an Omar. But you know what? I mean, look, at a certain point, it's like, fine, you want to hate me because I'm white. You're not going to stop me from living my life. I'm not going to cry over it. But it's like, you hate America. That's what the problem is. And your rhetoric is going to start a civil war because, I mean, the tolerance of Americans to put up with this garbage is actually quite impressive because, you know, I'm amazed that Americans have put up with this for so long. I don't know if they're going to put up with it for another election, you know, with the Ilhan Omars that hate America. But that's what really upsets us, I think, as Americans, is that we see people that hate America getting into office, promoting that hatred, promoting that rhetoric, and it's just like, well, who's going to stand up for America? If we're not going to stand up to anti-Americans inside this country, then, I mean, what are we even doing here? Do we even have a country anymore? The border's wide open. So it's really sick. It's really disgusting, these individuals. And look, we want a peaceful political revolution. That's why we elected Trump. That's why we're saying get out to the voting booths. But hell, the Democrats are the ones calling for a violent revolution. I hope they don't get it. Let's go out to a quick phone call here. Our first caller of the day, Reed, Marine Army veteran from Florida. Go ahead, Reed.
Hey, Owen, first-time caller. I have a question. I was watching the Mueller hearing, and he kept on referring back to his report. My question is, why did he have a redacted report? Because you can actually see him refer to it, and there was a bunch of redactions on it. Now, was that the copy that they gave him to hide stuff and make sure he didn't accidentally refer to something that was...
So I have seen some other commentary on this, and that is the belief that there were names redacted from that so that he wouldn't say it, or maybe they wouldn't go on camera, but that has been pointed out. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's what I've seen.
Well, my question is, why aren't the Republicans stepping up and saying, well, you guys wanted a unredacted report. Why is he referring to a redacted report? We want to see the report that is unredacted and what he should have been referring to. Supposedly,
yeah, but look, they admit they're not playing fair. Any neutral audience consuming this can see that they're not playing fair. So the Republicans, look, the Republicans have tried to play fair. They're the ones saying, hey, look, you guys are disobeying the law. You guys are breaking the rules. There's no precedent for this. You have no such evidence for what you're claiming. I mean, look, there's investigations happening out of Dan Horowitz's office, or is it the Attorney General or the Inspector General Horowitz? They're all about to come out. I mean, the Democrats, they're in big trouble. It's a Veterans Call-In Special. My guests, Douglas Ducote and American Joe, DouglasDucote.com, AmericanJoeShow.com. A couple veterans launching their own media enterprise. That's what you got to do to defeat all the fake news trying to control social media and the flow of information. We've got veterans on the line. Let's go out to Navy veteran Brad Chadford in Boston, who has a Mueller tattoo on his back that he doesn't regret at all, he claims. Go ahead, Brad.
All right, man. I got to say, it's time to moveon.com. This has got to stop now. I was the biggest, cheerleader. I got the Mueller tattoo mostly just to irritate you people, but
didn't work, by the way.
I know it's over with now. Okay. And Nadler is killing me. You're killing me, Nad. I want to grab him straight up by the Nadler and explain to him that this has got to stop because we have an election right in front of us in 2020. It's over and done with. We have to try and win that election. And what I wanted to get into with you and your guest is there's actually one candidate who's actually still serving who is suing Google. And this is what we need to be concerned about when it comes to the next election, how social media is going to attempt to affect this election. And Tulsi Gabbard is suing Google. And no one else is doing anything about anything. They're just whining. Trump has this, whatever that was, that summit, which
social
apparently
media
was
summit,
just
yeah.
to like tug carpe diem in public and tell him that he cares. I don't think he really actually cares, but Tulsi's putting her money where her mouth is and actually suing Google. We have to talk about this.
Well, look, I think Tulsi Gabbard is the best Democrat candidate by far. We've talked about this before. I told you the Democrats would never give her a chance. I think that's been proven now by the fact they're using Google to make sure that she can't get an edge in campaign fundraising. Yeah, she's suing Google. You probably won't even hear about it on the Democrat media. I'd like to see Trump and Gabbard run together, but Gabbard's a purist, think Trump colluded with Russia, so she'll never do that. But, I mean, what do you guys think about Tulsi Gabbard as a Democrat candidate getting the shaft from the Democrat Party? Douglas?
Well, you know, I'm sorry to hear that for her, but look, I don't want anything to do with a Democrat even coming close to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Can't do that. Can't even go there.
American Joe?
Yeah, you're right. Tulsi doesn't have a shot at the Democratic nomination. That's the Democrats' problem. They cannot nominate the right person. And that Tulsi's the closest to the right person they're going to find. And even she would get destroyed by Trump in a general election. So that's why they're going to have to resort to these tactics. I'm sorry your caller feels the way he feels. He should be voting for Donald Trump.
He can't get over Trump being a what's that?
Just because I'm a vet doesn't mean I have to vote the way you think I should vote, okay? Last time I checked, the military is one of the most diverse organizations on the planet, the American military. And just because you guys think that patriotism means agreeing with you, I don't feel that way.
Oh, whoa, a little spice from Brad Chadford. Hey,
Nobody
Brad, let me
said
ask
that,
you.
brother. Nobody said that. But
Let me
thank you.
ask you one question, though, Brad, before I let you go. Did you take Jerry Nadler's fashion advice and wear your pants up to your nipples?
You know what? I don't think that I could possibly fit anything that would fit Jerry Nadler on another human being. I don't think that would work. He's a weeble.
There's no one with the same body shape. All right, man. Hey, thanks for the call. Let's go to another Navy veteran caller in Austin, Texas, a friend of the show, Thad. Go ahead, Thad.
How you doing, Owen?
Doing good. Thanks for calling.
Yeah, driving to San Antonio. You know, I was going to go ahead and go into how Mueller has historically been the fixer for really both parties. I mean, more the Republican Party than the Democratic Party. I mean, when you talk about even the Whitey Bulger case, 9/11, you know, Uranium One. I mean, the guy has definitely
Enron, the anthrax deal. Yeah, Mueller.
Yeah, the guy definitely has his fingerprint
Or Mueller
on every honeypot. Yeah, absolutely. But you know, I heard your Ilhan Omar rhetoric in regards to white males. You know, it makes me sit back and think. But every single event that I've been to, from Seattle, Washington, Portland, down here to Austin, which is quickly becoming another Portland type station for these people, is that it actually is white males. And actually, Alex, you know, yourself, you know, we've all made these comments in regards to these white men that for whatever reason buy into this whole white privilege nonsense, you know, and are the guys that are firebombing and are, you know, performing these acts or organizing these acts of violence against anyone that disagrees with their, you know, long planned, you know, rhetoric. You know, it kind of is, you know, white males. That's not to say
No. This is actually interesting. It's like a weird screwball, like knuckleball thing that they do, where they demonize white men as the problem. And if you want to look at white men being a problem, it's the liberal anti-fascist terrorists that are mostly white middle-aged men that are out there engaging in fascism and domestic terrorism, calling themselves Antifa and such. But then they ignore that. They say it's conservative white males that are the problem. And then they ignore the fact, like, I mean, you've been to all these different events. I mean, you go to a conservative event, a Trump supporting event, you look around, yeah, you're going to have a bunch of white people. You're going to have a bunch of brown people. You're going to have a bunch of black people. Nobody sits here and obsesses over race. Nobody sits here and says, okay, I'm at this event. what color are people's skin? They say, hey, I'm out here at this event. These people like America. They support Trump. Let's have a good time. So it's this weird, like, three-card monte. They blame white people, but they ignore the white liberals that are causing the terror. And then they ignore anybody who they would call a minority that doesn't go along with their cult-like behavior.
Or just generally refers to them as a race traitor, you know, and
Right.
it's definitely a head game. And if they would really take the time to look at the situation, they would find that it's all white males on the liberal end of the spectrum.
Oh, but see, but that's the thing. They'll never take the time to look at the situation. And even if they did, they couldn't even be honest with themselves about it. Thanks for the call, Thad. All right, let's get a final take from Douglas and American Joe before we let them go. Douglas, just a final comment, final commentary here before we let you go.
Sure. I just want to say, as for that caller, the number one biggest problem we have right now is the African-American community being slaughtered within themselves by other blacks killing them. Okay, so that's happening way more than these white people that are domestic terrorists. But anyhow, I just wanted to also say that YouTube and Facebook and Twitter have hurt myself as well as American Joe and other conservatives. And right now, Facebook not only has shut me down personally from my own Facebook account, but my Veterans United for Justice account on Facebook is shut down as well. So I can't even reach out to help vets on Facebook because they got upset that I said something on Twitter. And so that's, you know what, that's ruling us to try and stop helping other people and spreading the word.
So you can go and find his own website, folks, DouglasDucote.com. It's Douglas, DuCote.com, because they're trying to censor him on social media. And then AmericanJoeShow.com for Joe's website. Joe, final 90 seconds. Give us a final statement.
Well, I tell you, Owen, this is it, man. The future of the country is on this election. I don't say that lightly. We have to take steps. We have to stand shoulder to shoulder. We have to mobilize on a level not seen before in this country, because we are up against all of the media, and that's very powerful. So I encourage all patriots to unite, to come together. And Owen, if you ever need me to co-host on this show or sit in, you let me know, my friend, because I am waiting in the wings for that opportunity. And this is gonna go one way or the other, but I believe if every patriot stands up shoulder to shoulder, we will crush the Democrats. But do not get lazy and looking at the numbers of crowd supporters and crowd sizes and think it doesn't matter or your vote doesn't count, because if you're watching this, your vote counts. It counts a great deal.
That's the key, though. Everybody does have to rise up together. They can't be intimidated, and they have to show up to the polls. And I don't know, Joe, I may have to have an unwritten rule. Nobody with a bigger beard than me is allowed to be on the broadcast, at least on Skype, okay? Because that beard is, it puts mine to shame right now, and I'd need like another month or three maybe to catch up with you. All right, hey, great having you guys on. Again, Douglas Ducote, DouglasDucote.com is his website, and AmericanJoeShow.com is Joe's website. We thank you guys so much for your service, so much for coming on today. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you again.